Well, that is that. Derby County lose 1-0 to Sheffield United. Another away game, another loss. And I'm not going to say this is turning into a bit of a trend, although a few people are a bit annoyed by my preview title talking about the away curse that we seem to be under. I think that's now 7 games in a row away from home, including pre-season, that we've lost. And obviously it's a little bit disappointing to come away with a defeat. But I think today was much better than our previous away performances. I think we put up a really good fight. And I think when you listen to what Paul Warne had to say post-match, I think we were on the right sort of lines. It's just one of those where some little moments just didn't go our way. Now, before we get into talking about it in full, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We're working really hard to hit 1.3 thousand subscribers. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, you may see the background change a little bit. We're working on a new space to record videos and things like that, so I can get live streams going and things like that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can see when those happen. And let's just talk a little bit, because obviously there was a lot made about my video talking about the potential replacement for David Ozo and how I said that I think it could be Marcus Harness in the title, and obviously the title was then since changed, but we obviously then went with Ben Osborne instead of Marcus Harness or Nat Phillips. We stayed with the 4-3-3, and I'm not going to say we were bad, because I don't think we was bad today. I just think we competed with Sheffield United for large parts of the game, and I think we put in a fairly decent performance when you look at the bigger picture. But when you look at sort of like the basic numbers behind the performance, it just wasn't quite good enough. I think obviously as a team we do like to give up possession, but I do think we had periods of possession in this game, and I think we put up a fairly decent fight versus Sheffield United. And I think the difference came when you look at the players that were coming off the bench for both sides. And obviously we'll have to build into those 20, 15, 10 million pound players again. But when we're bringing on loanee Marcus Harness, £300,000 Corey Blackett-Taylor, and they've just got a completely different set of players on the bench, which are at a completely different level, really. So it's one of those for me where I think the defeat isn't necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, you want to put a point on the board or 3 points on the board, but I think I said it in my preview of the month that I anticipated us losing this game. I just think that with everything that goes on with Derby County, when you're looking at fixtures and things and how we've been performing away from home, I just couldn't see us getting something out of it. And as much as I think the performance was better today than that of what we saw at Watford, that of what we saw at Blackburn, that of what we saw at Barrow, I just still think we're missing that cutting edge. And I think we look a different team at home. I think there was obviously a big miss of David Ozo today. I think he would have changed the game a little bit for us if we had him available, but obviously we didn't. Obviously Marcus Harness did come in and went into that number 10 role, which is what I said during that video talking about a replacement. And obviously there's a lot to go off within this game. I think we ended up with something like 2 or 3 shots on goal. Maybe that's pushing it. But I think that's where our problem is. And you can't expect to score if you're only shooting 3 times, if you're only getting into those positions 3 times. And that's one of the problems I've had with Paul Warne football a lot of the time. I'm not saying, before anybody jumps on this and say that I want Paul Warne sacked, that's not the case. I just think we need to be a bit more front-footed. Obviously Sheffield United are a great team, and if you go too front-footed, you open up and we'll end up with a defeat like Blackburn, which looks absolutely awful. But I do think we've got to do more in a sense of being away from home to create those opportunities where we can take shots on goal. We can put a keeper under pressure, put a defence under pressure, really. Because if you look at the numbers behind today's game, it ain't really where we want it to be. And obviously there's a lot that can come from a performance like this. I think it is one to build on, because I don't think we played badly. It was obviously an amazing free kick from Gustavo Hamer, which scored the goal. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what the plan was with the wall. It just didn't do anything. It was like 2 people to either side, 3 people in the middle. And I think only one of them jumped, and it was the one of the men that didn't jump where the ball went over and went in. And there's nothing Zetterstrom could do about that. And I think it's probably a questionable foul in the first place. I think a lot of people would probably say it's not a foul, but we'll have to obviously wait and see that again, see what people have to say. And obviously it's one of those for me where we are moving in the right direction, and I don't think a defeat against Sheffield United is going to really sort of solidify where we're going to end up come the end of the season. We were always never going to be one of those teams who finished in the top 6. So a loss to Sheffield United isn't a surprising one. Obviously, as I've said during my predictions, my previews for the season and all throughout this campaign, I'll be happy if we finish 21st. And as I've said, I think it was in my previous video, I said if we can hit 50 points, like we can then look up from there. Get 50, 41 more points, and worry about whatever's happening after that. So it's one of those for me. I think it's a difficult one to really put your foot on and really come away. I'm not really disappointed in the result. I'm disappointed in the attacking output that we had. But then it's one of those where you look at it and you go, if we'd have been more attacking, would we have lost 3 or 4-0? But it's always 50-50 in hindsight, isn't it? And you can always say, well, we could have done this, we could have done that. And I do think there is things which Paul Warne could change about the team and the tactics and the setup away from home. But it's one of those where you've got to really be careful about what you do, especially when you go into a Sheffield United. I think our next away game is Sunderland. That's going to be another really, really difficult game to keep on top of. And it is going to be interesting to see what does happen across the course of the next few weeks. Obviously, David Ozo out until the next international break. Thompson's out for 2 or 3 weeks. You've got Barkhuizen, who's supposed to be out for another 10 days. Obviously, Kane Wilson's back training now and back available for selection, so we'll have to see what happens with that one. Obviously, we face Norwich this time next week. We'll have faced them at home. There'll be a matchday vlog coming your way. It's one of those for me where I think at home, if we can pick up wins at home, we can just keep winning at home. I think 30 points at home, 10 wins, I think we'll be absolutely laughing. I think we'll be in a really, really good position, because I do think we will start to pick up points away from home, but I think we've got to start to do that soon. I know we've had a bit of a difficult run away from home. You look at Blackburn are doing fairly well so far this season, Watford doing really well, and obviously Sheffield United, some of the top teams in this division. So it is going to be interesting to see how it progresses over the course of the next few weeks. I think if we go back to my preview video for the month of September, I think I did expect this one to be a defeat. It's going to be interesting to see what happens for the Norwich game. I'm really intrigued about that one because I think the setup may change slightly heading into that one based on the performance and the result today. It's certainly something which Paul Warne will need to look into. Now, obviously, there's a lot to talk about over the course of the next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL, League One and Championship content coming your way. And I'll catch you in my next video. Find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.